retailers are now coming to us and saying, how can we transform our business? Because ultimately, they have either the stock exchange or private equity as their owners, and they have paymasters that they're accountable for. So they still need to make profit. So what we offer is improving profitability. It's kind of driving retailers to us.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. Joining me is Item Group Chief Financial Officer Ian Hayes. Ian, very good to meet you. You're up with your results recently. Before we delve into those, could you give us a quick introduction to the company?
Sure. I guess the way we like to describe ourselves, we're a collection of retail engineers helping retailers transform their businesses into higher performing organizations through the use of technology, utilizing our Unify platform. It's a bit of a mouthful, but I think a really good analogy is thinking about the British cycling team and Dave Brailsford. What he always believed in was if he looked at every single aspect of the British cycling team and improved every aspect, and it was the environment around it, if he improved everything by 1%, it would lead to overall excellent performance. And that's what we do with our retailers. We look at every single aspect of their organization. We drill down into the P&L, taking data, and then we present it back to them and tell them where there's money to be had, where they could improve their performance.
And an impressive customer base of retailers that you're working with, Ian. So customer base of 80 retailers, big names like Tesco, JCPenney, Walmart, McDonald's. So you really are getting big names in there.
We are. We have four pillars within our Unify platform. We have sales, we have promotions, pricing and promotions, we have supply. And essentially, they're aimed at each of the pillars is aimed at different tier retailers. So the pricing, the optimization piece is aimed at the tier ones, the likes of Sainsbury's, Tesco's, the Açaís in Brazil. We've got some huge tier one retailers. Then the sales supply element are really for the mid-market, sort of up to £1 billion turnover retailer. So yes, and then within that, we've got the Entertainer, Majestic, just to name a few.
And you mentioned Açaí, that's a new Brazilian retailer you've brought on board with a 5-year contract. Are you aiming for 5-year contracts with your customers to give you that time to get them to a better performance?
I think what was really nice, I think when I look into 2024, there was two elements that were really important for us. One was the renewal of the Majestic and the Entertainer contracts. Originally, they were 3-year contracts, but they were really keen to tie us in for 5 years. And I think as I reflect on that, it kind of demonstrates the value that they put in us as a supplier to their business and value what we do for them. So that was one aspect that I thought was really important in 2024. The other was signing up Açaí, which is a £10 billion turnover wholesaler in Brazil. And it was a massively competitive bid. We were competing with 10 other suppliers, the likes of Demand Tech. And, there's this old adage that big businesses only deal with big businesses. And I think what was a seminal moment for us was actually they didn't look at Item as a small cap business. They looked at what value we could provide to them. And we beat all 10 competitors hands down. So I think they were two important moments for us. So coming back to the question, the fact that both the Entertainer and Majestic wanted to tie us in for 5 years kind of suggests we're in for the long term and they value what we do.
Well, another seminal moment, Ian, must have been hitting profitability for your 2024 year. So profit before tax, £200,000, and that was up from a £1.1 million loss in 2023. So really gaining momentum here.
Prior to the IPO, we would always break even. We've always had this ethos that we only spend on development, R&D, what we generate operationally. So when we floated in 2021 with the cash we raised, we've always had the products functionally they're very rich, but what we actually used the investment for was to polish them. And so, in 2022 and 2023, we were generating cash losses. And our whole focus for 2024 was to break even. So the fact that we just made a small profit, it's a major turning point for us.
Take us through the drivers that got you to that turning point, Ian, and how that's progressed into 2025.
Yeah, I mean, we have two revenue streams. We have the subscription revenues, which are long term. They provide stability to the business over the long term. And then we have services, which is our existing customers, and they're small projects. They are the elements that drive in-year profitability. So in 2024, we listened to our investors, and there was forget growth, move towards profitability. Now, for us to move towards profitability, it's not driving for the long-term large transformation projects. It's doing more with our existing customers. And that's what we did. We did more with our existing customers, small short-term projects. We increased our services revenues by 31%, which drove the in-year profitability. And that's really what took us into profit in 2024.
And 2025, how is it shaping up so far, Ian?
The cost headwinds that retailers are facing are well known. I mean, the reduction of business rates relief. You've got the NIC increases. You've now got the Trump tariffs that do impact retailers through the supply chain. So it's taken longer, definitely, but the pipeline is the strongest that we've ever had. So to a certain extent, all these cost headwinds are a blessing for us because the telephone is ringing. Retailers are now coming to us and saying, how can we transform our business? Because ultimately, they have either the stock exchange or private equity as their owners, and they have paymasters that they're accountable for. So they still need to make profit. So what we offer is improving profitability. It's kind of driving retailers to us.
Ian, I hope you'll keep us updated on your progress. Thank you very much for the introduction today.
I will do. Thanks so much, Stephen.
Ian Hayes, Chief Financial Officer of Item Group.